Once upon a time, a grinder broke. And then I went and got another grinder. And then that grinder didn't come with a flange nut. So then I went back to Home Depot on the exact same day. And I said, please, may I have one with an actual flange nut? They said, okay, here you go. And we exchanged it. And then several days passed because I had to go to work. And then it was dark outside, so I made this video to waste approximately 20 seconds of your time. Now we're gonna go cut out this next piece that we need to cut out. Well, I just got the Ryobi in this video. This video is actually several months old, and so I've actually been using the Ryobi for quite a while. It's not as good as the Bauer brand that I was using. It's not as strong. But that being said, it hasn't broken yet, which is really nice. So I would say that it's pretty cheap and it's got a good warranty on it, and I would suggest getting the Ryobi. I just don't expect it to win a power battle.
This metal is probably quite a bit too thick for aviation snips, but I put an aviation snip because I didn't want to use the angle grinder and cut it, because then I've got a width of an angle grinder right there that I'm going to have to make up with weld. So I did a cut with the aviation snips. I just wish I could get a little farther into the metal, but I'm going to do one more cut here, one more cut here, one more cut here, one more cut here, so I can massage it around this piece, which is, I'm wanting it, right, to sort of go like this and slot in against this piece. It's not quite as difficult or far in as this piece is whenever I'm actually matching it to the rail, but that's what I'm working on right now. So I'm going to do another relief cut here, 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 and here, so I can more easily fit that piece where it needs to go.
So hindsight 2020 on this, I will tell you that these cutouts that I make here on this don't work as well as I want. I think if I were going to go back in time and do this whole project over again, this portion of the project, I would make a much larger box cutout that pushes back further in and just be done with it, versus trying to minutely or finely make these cutouts, when in reality I could have just, made the cutout much larger so I had plenty of room to work with. It doesn't need to look exactly like the factory. Unfortunately, going back through my comments, I can't find the person who said it, but look, I'm not drilling into the relief cracks. Voiceovers are hard, all right. I'm not drilling into the relief cracks anymore. Instead, I'm actually using a 2x4, so that way I don't mess up my drill bits. Thank you to my commenter who mentioned that in a previous video. I did use rust more inside the frame before spraying on the bed liner inside as well, to sort of give it an additional level of rust protection. Once I've done that, I start tacking it in place, making for sure that the surface of the new panel is flush with the surface of the old panel. Another mid-project update about a tool I use regularly, and one that I'm using right now. That is the Omni Pro 220 from Harbor Freight. I have nothing but positive things to say about this machine. I have had a really good time with it, really good luck, and the welds are so much better than the start of this project. In this exact scene, you can see two different versions of the welds. One above was the old MIG welder with the wire feed, and the welds are just terrible looking. But the welds that I get with the Omni Pro are much better. It just shows what some shielding gas and a lighter wire can do in these type of situations. So I'd highly suggest investing in a decent welder, even if it's not the world's best, right? The Omni Pro isn't even the world's best, but it's definitely better than the $125 Harbor Freight special. Don't buy that one. Just don't. You save yourself time and effort in the long run. still have to grind it all down, but it's past 10 and I really need to shut down as I have a quiet time in the neighborhood and I try to be a good neighbor. But I've got these welded all around. I will say that, well, this is still sort of a little hot. This is, I mean, just comparatively, the amount of strength that's here in this spot compared to what there was even just like, 2 weeks ago, before I took this thing out, is ludicrous. So I'm much happier with the way that it is right now. As I move forward, I have to continually remind myself that the car is not going to be perfect whenever I get done with it. It's going to be still super far from that, and I have to continue to remind myself of it. This is either the end of this video, or it is just an intermediate point, and in this next scene, I will go ahead and grind these welds back a bit, build the plate that goes from here to here, and then also weld the brake line bracket that goes right here as well. And then this side, at least up this front part, will be done. I still got to move to this front part and even take out some more of this piece over here. But now that I've got this locked into here, I really do believe that it's strong enough that if I cut out the rest of it, the front end's not going to do something wonky on me. I've got enough right here holding it in to where it's currently at, that it's not going to move on me too much. So a lot of bad, like, sort of crappy metal down here that was popping and fizzing whenever I was welding down here. So not super happy about that, but we'll see how it holds up. But much better than what it was. I sprayed the inside with undercoating, some primer on the back of this piece here, right here. Hopefully seal up the inside of this as we move forward. I still got to weld in a little bit here as we move forward, but it's I'll hit that with a punch, sort of push it back just a little bit, so that way I can weld it in and then clean up the welds. And then the next plate can sit flush to this. And again, I'll cut it with some. I probably won't do the aviation snips. I'll probably actually do the grinder and grind it back up, and up, so that way I can get it flush using a hammer and punch, just sort of push it all right back against it and then tack weld it to this piece right here. So the next day. You don't want to look at my little mug. Let's go to the car. Alright, so in case I didn't cover this last night before I went to bed, I've got this portion mainly welded in. I've got a few spots here that I need to get with the grinder and sort of clear those back out, so that way I'll give myself space to put in the panel over the top here after I finish welding in this piece right here. So I'll tap this back, sort of push it back to give myself more room to add this outer plate, and then also the brake line holder, which will go right there. And then this front piece will be done, and we'll go do the other side front piece. And then we can connect back up the engine to the car, so that way I don't have it setting on two separate types of jack stands. But first I'll need to finish the welding here, as well as grind back the welds. If I were going to finish that sentence, I would say welds. Alright, so I've got the next plate. It's going to go right here. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and slot these two spots right here, and here. Sort of get those centered up where I want them. And then once I do that, I will be able to then
tap these, and then I'll drill a couple, so 1, 2, 3, like 4, 5 plug well holes, so that way I can put it on this other sheet. Before I do all that, right, I need to go ahead and spray this surface with some weld through primer, so that way I can seal up here in the middle, and then keep going on from there. So I'll mark the spots where I'm going to do the cuts, and I'll probably have it back, sort of split the difference here a little bit. Let's see if it looks better like this. I don't know if it looks any better like this, but yeah, I think I'll probably do it like this, with the sides out. So I'll mark on this side where it's out of the car, or towards the back of the car, and then mark the spots where I'm going to do the relief cuts, and then clean up the edges here, so that way I don't have all these burrs in the way. Yep. This will add an additional level of strength here to this piece, and hopefully be good to move forward. Let's do it. GoPro stopper.
Hey, if you're a guy from the safety shop, probably not the best thing to do to, use a angle grinder cutting towards your leg. Terrible idea. Please use actual, good ideas whenever you're doing your project. Don't follow me.
Well, let's take a look. Alright, so I've got the piece made up. I put a light coat of paint on it after putting the primer on it, just to try to give it a little bit more rust protection in here. I'll go ahead and scrape off this metal where my holes are, and we'll go from there. I did the same on the back of this. Again, just anything to try to keep the rust out of this area of the car, especially since it's right in the footwell. So what I'll do is, like I said, I'll have it right here, right? I will scratch off paint here, 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 and here. I will weld in the top part, these 4, to get it secured, and then I will take a sort of a hammer and I will persuade it to go where it needs to go. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I think this will be a really good plate. So let's get to it. Just to give you an idea of what I'm doing is I'm taking this little dental pick that I got out of a kit from, crazy enough, Harbor Freight, like most of my tools. And I am taking it and I am going in here and I am scratching out the paint as well as the primer that's here on this surface, so I can have a nice clean surface to weld to. Once I have scratched all that paint off, or at least most of it, I now can clamp the piece to this other piece. Now, unfortunately, where I'm at, I don't have a good spot to clamp to because there's just a whole bunch of other crap here. So I'm going to try to slide the piece in as far as I can, see if I can clamp it. If not, I'll just push in like this and I'll weld it to it, because I think that should be good, and we'll go from there. So what we'll do next. The welder settings I'm using, since this is both brand new metal as well as this, I'm actually going with a higher voltage to sort of get hopefully some better penetration in this area of the metal. So I'm using a 16 volt, 200 millimeters per second, 200 inches per minute on the wire speed going into each of these different spots. They're nice, cool to touch, and they don't look like they're going anywhere. So, but we'll, like I said, we'll go ahead and put that into place. So the factory used spot welds to put this plate on. I am not seeing any reason why this would ever come loose with the plug welds that I've got in there. Once I grounded them back, they look really pretty good. You can barely tell that they're there. I've still got to put the brake mount on, so this is just some. Again, I'm not using the weld through primer. I've had less than stellar luck with all of that for this project, so I put the piece here on the lip and it seemed like it worked just fine. Next thing I'm going to do is attach the brake line mount. I'm not going to drill through and put plug welds. I'm just going to do a couple lines along each side with just some welds right there, and I'll clean up the stuff around it. But all in all, very happy with the way this looks and turned out, and going to be so much stronger than what it was beforehand.
You might call it a bench vise, I call it a floor vise.
So this pin that locks this in place so you can remove the pieces, the button broke. So I removed the 4 screws that are Torx 20 from here, slid this piece out, popped this piece out of the piece, and now I'm going to put this all back together, and I'll put the wire wheel on it so I don't have to change it out regularly. But if you look at the inside, it's actually all the gear teeth and everything are all still in really pretty good shape, so I'm pretty happy with that. I've used this grinder quite a bit on this project. I was really bummed to see it go bad. The new Ryobi is okay. I would actually say it doesn't feel like it's as strong as this grinder, but it actually sort of helps that it's not as strong, because then it allows me to it makes it where I don't feel like I'm going to hurt myself as much. But yep, that's just been a quick short video on removing the push pin that locks this in place, and then I'll just have to sort of put a piece down in there to lock these in place, and then probably cover the top with some tape so that way crap doesn't get down in there. Alright, less than a minute.
In fact, that was not less than a minute. It was 1 minute and 30 seconds, give or take.
Alright, next part of the video, we're going to go ahead and take this brake bracket and we're going to put it back on the car. So I've already removed the old welds here, which you saw. I hit it with some primer, hit it with some paint, just to sort of seal it up a little bit. I didn't do the front side because I'll do that whenever I go through and do all the rest of it. Originally it sat, I don't really see any reason why it has to be plug welded here. I'm just going to put some spots here, here, and here, and see how well it sticks. But I do have to remove the paint sort of to where that way it'll go through and seal. So I'll do that with the dental pick as well, just to get it in place, start it, and then I'll do the other sides. But dental pick, put it where I want it. Go ahead and line it, scribe if you will. Just a little spot. That'll give me a spot to go boop boop back and forth, move forward.
It's going to be the end of today's video. If you like what you see, go ahead and comment, like, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and tune in next time.